right, everybody. It's the return of the Shoeshine. I'm your boy Dave from the 408, coming to you from my studio in San Jose, California. Always with me, my homeboy, all the way from the city of brotherly love, Mr. Drew Evo. ¿Qué pasa, homie?
What's up, Dave?
Oh, man, we had a little bit of a late start, but I just want to give a big shout out to everybody that's out there and been subscribing to our new YouTube channel. We're slowly gravitating to YouTube, so we appreciate everybody that's been riding with us so far. Big shout out to Raw Boxing YouTube, who had us on his Saturday post recap live show. 17,000 views. Shout out to Ranger, man. That was incredible. And a shout out to all our friends at Leave It in the Ring Radio Network, A-Rod Boxeo. What's up? Shark City, yeah, boy. Shout out to everybody from Leave It in the Ring Network, David Duende, Emil Carr, G Funky, D Styles. Drew, I posted this and I appreciate you retweeting, but we got a big star on their show tomorrow, D Styles' show with G Funky. We got Jesus Ramos Jr., a little knockout sensation who was campaigning at 140, and he was the co-main at PBC this Saturday. Of course, PBC had that free fight. The main event was a little bit of a letdown, but Jesus Ramos, this kid, I thought he was possibly going to be like fighting for a championship at 140, but we're going to find out what happened because he fought at 147, and this is a game changer. He's 19, a southpaw with vicious power. This is a huge game changer if he's going to be a welterweight. It's going to be real interesting with all these incredible prospects, and then, PBC just... they have control of all the top welterweights, man. I'm excited about that tomorrow. But today we're going to recap everything that went down with the DAZN card, the PBC card. If you tuned in and you want to call in, the phone lines are live, 702-710-3627. Talk to me, Drew, because you had the weekend off and you got to watch this DAZN card.
First of all, 17,000 people got to see my beautiful face.
Oh, yeah. We're talking about Raw Boxing. Man, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible. But, most people were watching the fight and then watching that, they come in and out of the room. It's a great way to interact with fans, man. I really appreciate that. But I want to know your thoughts on this DAZN card because people were yelling mismatch from way before that. Yildirim was like a 50-1. And it kind of turned out exactly as most pundits would have expected, right?
DAZN puts on another subpar card again for their paid subscribers. Simple as that. And the WBC really now admits that they need to look into the ranking system. They should have looked in it a while ago. And this was a joke. Having this dude Yildirim as in the main event with Canelo, it was a complete mismatch.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
And the irony was that Yildirim's last fight, the fight that he had against Darrell, and Darrell was the PBC and main event, right? Is that thing was, he didn't win that fight, right?
I think he got knocked out.
Yeah, exactly. So how did he get in position? And of course, then I'm reading yesterday, or I don't know if it was, it was pretty fresh that WBC says they'll look into it now, right? But the sentiment of people on one side of the track, you got people who say Canelo's taking easy fights now. They're called the Canelo haters or whatever. Or, maybe you're not hating. Maybe you're just being honest. You don't think that was a competitive fight. We knew it wasn't going to be competitive. But it's all the lead up, right? Boxing is a business, and he's with Eddie, working with Eddie Hearn now that he left Golden Boy. Calling his own shots, and he's going to be fighting the guy you want to see him fight, BJ Saunders. That fight was announced, right? It's kind of like, okay, he got the mandatory out of the way, was not a worthy opponent as a mandatory, in my opinion, but now he's got some real tests coming ahead because BJ Saunders, I don't care what people say, I'm not saying BJ Saunders is going to win, although you said it on Saturday, you think he's going to win.
Oh, damn right I say he's going to win.
It's not going to be an easy fight. It's not going to be an easy fight. And that's something that boxing fans, sport fans, casual fans can appreciate. Now we got a comment here. Does the report Suleiman made for rethinking the ranking system, or does the fight make Canelo look bad? Maybe he's responding. Do you see Suleiman is responding to the criticism that it was a soft touch opponent? It was kind of their way of
I share my criticism with him a while ago, and been doing it the whole time. This was a joke, and these rankings are a joke. I don't understand how Darrell and Eubanks Jr. are underneath from when they both knocked him out.
Yeah, and I'm reading something today, man. I'm reading something today from a boxing writer. It was, I think, on boxingscene.com. The phone lines are open if you guys want to actually call us, man. We appreciate you chatting, but you could also call us and talk to us. But this boxing writer was arguing that Canelo has gotten to such a stature in boxing and pro sports that he really doesn't need any of these sanctioning bodies. Like, he has to mentally challenge himself to come up with some kind of next, like a next marker in his career. Like, what next can I do? Now he wants to unify all four of these belts, right? But truth be told, he doesn't need these sanctioning bodies. They actually take money from his purse and whatnot. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? You think he could just do away with them and just take whatever fight he wants, whatever weight class he wants?
Problem is, the big fights are the champions. Like, if you don't, you can say that they aren't really attractive fighters and everything, but the champ, as of right now, the big fights are the champions. And in this division, the big fights are the champions.
You're talking about like Caleb Plant?
Caleb Plant, BJ Sanders, I'm possibly moving Benavidez. And the thing is, he already claimed Benavidez is not a big fight for him, which it just tells you he's ducking David Benavidez and everything. But to me, the only big fights for Canelo right now to cement legacy is title fights. He'll move up to 175 to fight the likes of Arthur Beverly.
Right.
But, or try to get somebody that recently retired not too long ago that was actually like Andre Ward to come out of retirement.
Who's teasing people? He's teasing us again. Andre Ward loves to stay in the limelight, doesn't he, with these little teasing videos? Oh, look at me, I'm back in the gym.
Because people are speculating now. Now they're trying to say who will win. Easy. Andre Ward will easily beat Canelo Alvarez.
Oh, man, I don't know, man. Andre Ward's been out of the ring for so long. But, hey, shout out to Oakland native Andre Ward, Dub Nation. Shout out to him. Canelo should become undisputed at 168. Joe Lopez, you know what? I do want to say something to that because I feel like there's been a rush for him to move because what he did against Kovalev, right? People thought, okay, now he's a light heavyweight, right? Kovalev was once the guy everybody feared at 175. So naturally people were like, if he really wants to challenge himself, fight these much, much larger guys at 175. Stay in that division. But he's got so much he can do at 168. I can remember just 2 years ago that Oscar De La Hoya, or 3 years ago, Oscar was consistently saying, Canelo's not a middleweight. He's not there. He's not even a middleweight yet. Remember when Canelo used to fight at 155? Because I remember those days. That's when I really wasn't a fan of Canelo. He was making up his own weight classes, 155, and then, Mayweather did it to him and said, fight me at 152. And then you had Oscar defending him saying, he's not a middleweight. He's not a middleweight yet. And then all of a sudden he explodes from not a middleweight to taking out a light heavyweight. So naturally there's people out there who think he should fight at 175, these beasts, Bivol, Beterbiev, who really do stand a good chance of putting up a good fight against them, if not winning possibly.
Let's not get carried away,
With what?
You said was. That's the key word. Sergey Kovalev was.
Yes.
He's out of his prime. His career is almost over.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, he's
so
past his prime.
What happened. He picked the weakest champion out of that division.
Yeah,
and he beat him. That's what he did.
He's following the greatest showman that was greatest champion of our generation, possibly Floyd Mayweather's path, which is pick the opponent at the right time, at the right age, at the right weight class.
And we all got on him too.
And we got on him, protect that record. But then looking back on his legacy, there's people that make the argument he is the greatest fighter of our generation. And people may say that. And so today I want to ask this question of the chat, and I appreciate everyone who will watch this and on the replay, is is Canelo Alvarez just trying to be the greatest Mexican fighter of all time? Is that what his goal is now? Should that be his goal? And with that said, Drew, comes carefully picking his fights for the next 5 years. If he's only 30, then he's got to carefully pick out these fights for the next 5 years, right? Because I can conceivably see if Triple G is still fighting at his age, we can see Canelo fighting this late. Every single fight is going to have to be carefully made. So, Drew, you're a big fan of Bernard Hopkins. The Leave It in the Ring network was doing this thing with the middleweights, right? Should Canelo Alvarez, like Jones picked John Ruiz and made that and went all the way up. That's a good example that A-Rod Boxeo is saying, Roy Jones went all the way up to heavyweight by picking the right guy and was able to snatch that. But I'm wondering, because Bernard Hopkins was so successful at one specific weight, and you constantly remind me he's the greatest middleweight in history. Should Canelo Alvarez just park himself at 168 for the next 5 years? There's people saying this week no one will beat him at 168.
Well, that's the problem. Who's going to move up to 168? You got Charlo possibly moving up, and he can possibly get a fight with Charlo, but I doubt that might happen.
And Munguia wants that fight. Munguia wants to fight him bad someday when he naturally gravitates up to 168. If Canelo was no 168 pounder, Munguia is a big kid. He's going to get there too. There's a lot of potential guys at 160 that will eventually make it up to 168. Canelo could potentially be the king of that division for years to come. So are we done seeing him jump around and wait?
No. I think he's gonna get pushed to move up the light heavyweight to fight Benavidez, whoever, or he's gonna pick another easy fight at that division. And I think the ideal opponent would be John Pascal.
So A-Rod Boxeo says Canelo stated he wants to make his own legacy. He doesn't want to be compared to fighters of the past. He wants to write his own legacy, which is what every fighter really should be do, because he's gifted with certain traits. He's not Chavez Sr. They're totally different bodies, different weight. They're just, the only thing that identifies them is that they're both Mexican, or Salvador Sanchez or any of that. Canelo is totally different than that. So he is gonna write his own legacy. That's a good point. So Drew, you think he's gonna get enticed into fighting at some point? His ego or the money or the allure or the challenge is gonna drag him back up to, because I can't see him shrinking in weight. For who? He's a shot caller. He feels best here.
I think the only way he shrinks in weight if he gets a fight with Or Spence at 160. Only way I see it.
You think potentially? I don't think Spence's star power is that big yet. I don't see it. I don't see why he would melt down. Maybe he melt down a few pounds, but he really doesn't need to do anything. Like, he's definitely the A side, right? To me, he's the A side of any conversation.
But like, here's the main question when it comes to Canelo and everything. What do you think happened when he loses?
This is a good point. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I don't think he has a couple gift decisions in his record, because he does in my eye, right? So he's not undefeated in my eyes, but
yes, he has like 3 of them at least.
Even a loss. I thought about that when I was lucky enough to attend the Gennady Golovkin fight, the very first one. I thought about that. I thought about that often, right? Because I thought that when he definitely lost. He doesn't plan on moving back up, says A-Rod Boxeo. Only his ego will make him go back up to 175. Because at some point, Canelo's going to need to challenge himself if he thinks everyone's too easy at 168. But I just see like there's potential to make great fights at 168, from Caleb Plant this year to David Benavidez, who, I mean, it looks like he's trying to avoid him a little bit, right? I mean, the WBC didn't reinstate Benavidez as the immediate, like you said, you pointed this out. Why wasn't he given first dibs? Right?
He should have been.
Now,
he's the former champion.
Had he been given first dibs, we could have potentially been seeing a super fight in Miami, right? Between David Benavidez and Canelo Alvarez.
I look at it like this. I didn't care if we had Benavidez. I didn't care if we have Dowell or Eubanks Jr. as the mandatory.
Because
they owned it. in my opinion, they actually earned that mandatory shit.
Darrell is a former two-time champion. Darrell is a former two-time champion. Eubanks Jr. is no slouch. I mean, he knocked out Yildirim, and he had an opportunity, and he got the call to be the mandatory for this. So, is it fair to criticize Canelo for taking an easy fight? I mean, he's going to put it. We can put it on his team and say, hey, you know, the WBC is mandating him to fight that guy. He wants to hold that belt. His quest is to unify all 4 belts.
Well, like Ranger pointed out, Georgia was the mandatory before Canelo got the belt.
Yeah, like he said that. You're right.
He stepped aside everything, so you have to blame the WBC for its system. And Yuricio Sudama didn't want to come out and give his case on why Georgia was the mandatory. Now, after he sees this fight, he admits that there might be something lacking. No, you should have realized it was something lacking, because I don't understand how you had a guy as a mandatory when 2 of these guys beat him by knockout.
Yeah, most definitely. And Drew, you know, the WBC controversy continues even in the lower weight classes, because what's hot on the gossip today is that, and we'll get to the gossip at the end of the show, is that Lomachenko's going, Devin Haney and him are going crazy at it on social media today. And that all stems from this whole WBC stuff, you know, because whether you're the email champ or the social media champ, but it all stems from WBC rankings and whatnot. But let me get your thoughts on this DAZN card, because there was one fight that to me was the most entertaining fight of the entire weekend, and I'm talking about that guy Jerry Forrest, who was put in there to make this monster guy from Chinese, the 6'7" Zhang, former Olympian. He was supposed to get knocked out, you know, total size mismatch. He got dropped 3 times, and it took this guy toe-to-toe to the very end. It was a draw. But you think that maybe Forrest etched it out, right?
I thought he won. The key, I didn't think Zhang won a round after the 3rd round.
So it's interesting that at the very end, Zhang finally got penalized 1 point. And even my wife was like, yo, they could have taken an extra point, because even after that 1 point was taken away, he kept at it with the hugging and the clinching and the excessive wrestling tactics. It was pretty dirty. Zhang was completely exhausted. And it turns out, I'm reading today, that he spent 2 nights in the hospital after that. Jerry Forrest put Zhang in the hospital, and they tested him, all the MRI scans have finally come back okay. It wasn't brain damage or anything like that, but anemia, like severe anemia. So there was something definitely either wrong with him from cutting weight or losing weight or whatnot. But he did spend 2 nights in the hospital. And to me, Jerry Forrest, he had the David and Goliath story, man. That was the feel-good story of the entire weekend. It was a David and Goliath story. He's not supposed to be there. All of a sudden, I want to see this guy, Jerry Forrest. And I want to see Jerry Forrest because he's gritty as hell, and he don't care who he's in the ring with. Which brings me to the big news, man, is that Andy Ruiz Jr. is going to be fighting. It's official. He's going to be fighting Chris Arreola, another great Mexican-American heavyweight who's going to be turning 40 in 3 days. So shout out to him. Happy birthday to Chris Arreola, who tried to be champion twice. He fought Klitschko famously and lost. Drew, your thoughts on this fight, Andy Ruiz and Chris Arreola? Two California Mexicans.
What a perfect opponent.
For Andy Ruiz, for a comeback fight.
Yep.
But you know that despite people thinking maybe Chris Arreola has seen the best of his days, he did fight this Kaunacki guy, the Polish guy, and they threw like a combined record punches. Despite Chris Arreola being at the end of his career, managed to throw that many punches. They're going to make it pay-per-view, which is controversial. That's a little bit controversial. Yeah, your eyes are looking at it like, what? Pay-per-view? It's going to be a pay-per-view April 24th.
That's what PBC's doing. PBC is really undervaluing the pay-per-view market, overvaluing the pay-per-view market. I mean, really by a lot, because if you think people are gonna buy Andy Ruiz versus Chris Arreola, you are high as hell.
A shout out to Johnny Reyes, who says, great show. Oh, man. John Reyes is a freaking caller of our show. He can call in. He was getting into some freaky deaky in Huntington Beach on his YouTube channel, man. So shout out to Johnny Reyes. But yeah, we're talking about Mexican-American fighters from Southern California. Chris Arreola, he's a soldier. He's going to take this fight. It's a pay-per-view, man. It's a great way to ride out and end your career. If he gets the upset, good for him, you know. But Andy Ruiz is working out with Canelo. Drew, I'm not sure if you caught those pictures that are circulating on Twitter and whatnot. Andy Ruiz, who's really ripped. He's like really young.
Are they real?
Okay, so the promoter Lou DiBella pointed it out that the tattoos don't match. And I had to give it a second look, and I'm like, oh, yo, the arm sleeves don't match. So, yeah, I don't know. All PBC fighters are going to headline a pay-per-view event, LOL. Well, you know, I think like if that fight was on Cinco de Mayo and there was nothing else going on, PBC could make a really good case of putting on a really decent card, because they do have a lot of good Mexican-American and Mexican fighters on their roster. They actually do. But Canelo, he owns that date. He just owns it. He's going to hold that date and own it for an inconceivable amount of time. Now we're finding out that Canelo is going to be... It's fake news. The pics were, yeah, I know. Yeah, no, it fooled me at first. I'm like, good for him. You know, he is working out with Eddie Reynoso, who's arguably in the lead for Trainer of the Year. And I was like, wow, maybe he's disciplined now. But fake or not, I think it's going to be entertaining. But the question of whether or not it's going to be pay-per-view worthy, that's another question. We'll find out. This was really interesting to me is that Tyson Fury's brother is boxing now. I can't think. Tommy Fury? You want to talk about in shape, a little too much in shape, man. If I could just pull up that pic, I would, but I don't have it, man. He is yoked, like a little too yoked, right?
Yo, I'm gonna be honest. Yo, I was looking at the numbers to the Canelo fight.
Yeah, they publicize that, right?
And the Tommy Fury fight. Tommy Fury fight got 1.9 million views, while Canelo didn't even just cracked over 100,000.
Yeah, I don't know the accuracy of that because it is British television, but yeah, I did see them bragging about that. So is Tommy Fury, is it going to keep running in the family with the Fury family? You have even his cousin Huey. I mean, there's like a demand to see the Furies fight, I guess, right? A market we just don't know about. We're not across the pond. Could be real.
That just shows you how much of a joke this Canelo fight was.
Well, again, I have to defend Canelo because not every fight, like I said on Rangers show, not every fight Canelo's going to fight in the next 5 years, potentially, or even longer, is going to be a super fight. They can't all be super fights or his career is going to be short. They just can't. I mean, there's some dangerous guys. As well as BJ Saunders is not necessarily dangerous, it's going to be a tricky and complicated fight. He's a southpaw. He can box his ass off. You said he gives angles. Ranger disagreed with you about the angles, but he does move very well. He still consistently moves well. And those are the kind of fighters that have in the past given him problems. David Benavidez could be a dangerous fight. He can crack. He sure ate more bears than Tyson did. Yeah, that Tommy Fury is something... there's a lot of controversy around whether or not he's on anything, PEDs, because his physique is not like his brother, right? It doesn't look like Tyson Fury's body type.
Hey, you can say the same for Canelo, for moving up from 154 to 168 and having that power to do what he did to Cam Smith's bicep. But
undoubtedly, yeah, the power is there, man. And Yildirim just was no match for that. So anyways, going on to that free PBC card, because I'm really excited to say that tomorrow night we're going to be talking to this prospect PBC has, Jesus Ramos Jr., El Mono, who took out this guy from Tijuana in like round 1 or 2, man, just with these vicious power shots. Did you catch any of that fight? It was so short.
I saw that, and wow.
I mean, the guy, I don't know about his opponent from TJ. Most of these TJ fighters are very competitive. You know, TJ is known for some great fighters like El Terrible Morales, and Jaime Munguia too. You know, there's a lot of good fighters that come out of gyms in Tijuana. I don't know what kind of a test it was for him. He did move up in weight because this guy really didn't show me anything. So I'm excited to see what they're going to put in front of this kid. They're good at developing welterweights at PBC, right? If he's going to move up to welterweight, he called out Ugas after the fight.
Yeah, he's going to have to move up to welterweight because fighting at 135 or 140 is a waste because there's no legit 135, 140 fighters on PBC besides Tank Davis.
At PBC, they got the Mario Barrios, who has a lower belt, and Jesus Ramos versus Mario Barrios would be a very good fight for PBC at 140 if he decides to stay in campaign there. I can see that being a really good fight because I don't think there's just I've seen the kids who've rushed from 140 to 147 prematurely. I'll tell you two guys. Josecito Lopez was a solid 140-pound fighter who was catapulted after taking a fight with Victor Ortiz out of his weight class, breaks Victor Ortiz's jaw, becomes the opponent for Canelo Alvarez. He jumps from 140 to 154. You know, was that a bad call? I mean, he took the fight. He's a warrior.
Financially, it might have been a good call, but
yeah, for a 140-pound fighter.
Physically,
and this is the stuff I remember when people try to Canelo has a past. How long have you been watching his career? You know, a beast at 154 pounds dragging up a kid from 140 pounds from Riverside who's obviously going to take the fight. I mean, this guy's a warrior. Knocking him out, that didn't say much to me in the early days of his career. So this is what I'm worried about with fighters like Jesus Ramos. He's got a lot of power, but he's 19 years old. If his body's telling him to go up in weight, man, PBC's got a lot of opposition for him. But 147, man, I'm thinking of all these young prospects that you got one in your backyard who's going to fight Philadelphia's Ennis. Boots Ennis is going to be fighting Lipinets on Showtime next month. He could be potentially a new champion. I mean, these guys are getting older, PBC's roster. You got him. You got Xander Zayas over at Top Rank who could be a future champion. You got so many young guys. I don't even want to... Oscar's Golden Boys prospect, he could be a future champion. It's an exciting time for these young fighters.
You also got Blair the Flair Cobbs if he becomes something.
Blair the Flair, man, that's a name from last year that I haven't seen at all this year. And if we want to know something, what's going on with him, we should probably ask Francisco Esparza Jr., who was on the roundtable, because they were fighting out of the same gym. I think Brandon Woods or Brandon, they're working out of the same gym. Till next time. Hey, man, I appreciate A-Rod 83 Boxeo tonight. It's a little bit of a slow show for us tonight. Thank you for hanging out with us, man. So, Drew, the main event, PBC's main event, Durrell, ended in a draw, just like that heavyweight fight, man.
He can't catch a break, Durrell.
Did you think he eked out that victory against the guy? Because he dragged that guy up in weight, too. That guy was a middleweight.
I thought he won the fight.
You thought Durrell won the fight?
Yeah.
Okay.
He can't get a break, and his brother could have never got a break.
Yeah, his brother had a lot of breaks, bad breaks, but also he's a cancer survivor, man. That makes him one thing that makes him very likable. But I was reflecting on whether or not what this WBC mandatory shot, they were supposed to be a mandatory to fight David Benavidez. And then that person gets to fight Canelo eventually. So what happens with that draw? Who's going to get that fight with David Benavidez? Durrell already fought Benavidez.
I'm going to be honest. If I don't understand why we having someone to fight Benavidez when Benavidez should be awarded the next shot at Canelo.
And again,
regardless, he's a former champion, never lost the belt.
Yeah, I think this is going to work out in Canelo's favor because Benavidez is probably the biggest puncher in that division and poses, to me, the greatest threat at 168. So if he's going to fight BJ Saunders in May, Caleb Plant in September, he ain't even got to worry about Benavidez. For all we know, Benavidez, who's a huge kid, He's going to go the way of Zurdo Ramirez. Zurdo Ramirez, who's in the news, and move up
And
to
he's
what?
he's not even in his prime.
Who you talking about, Benavidez?
Yeah.
Benavidez absolutely is going to someday be a light heavyweight, right?
Yeah.
And that could be Canelo's scapegoat right there. Oh, he's moving up. He can't make weight at 168 anymore. All right, it's not my problem anymore.
Yeah, but you never know. Zorro might move down to fight Canelo, and Zorro can cause Canelo problems. He does not fight like a normal Mexican fighter. He boxes a lot, and he's a hell of a good boxer.
You bring up Zurdo Ramirez, and that was big news for Golden Boy this week. They signed him. They signed him today, this week, Zurdo Ramirez, which says a lot, because I did try to get Oscar's attention and ask him, is he going to move down in weight? 168 pounds. I mean, there's got to be a little bit of Oscar in there that says, I want one of my guys to beat Canelo now that they've parted ways.
I don't know. It would intrigue. It would be intriguingly a good fight, and I would give Zuro a chance to beat Canelo, but because he has that height advantage, he can box and everything, and he can really time somebody really well, Zuro too. So it might be a real difficult matchup for Canelo, which I really do expect BJ to come with the same plan to time Canelo and counter him most of the night, and then be able to work his jab. Zoro can do the same strategy too. So yeah, it will be a good fight. But thing is, can the fight be made on a Mexican holiday, or because it would do big numbers?
Yeah, we got a question in the chat from Joe. It says Zurdo left Top Rank. I think he left Top Rank, it was like a couple years ago, right? He had a contractual disagreement, and then that's why he was inactive for so long. He was like floating around.
The problem was with Top Rank and Zoro was Zoro didn't like the lack of fights he was getting from Arum.
Yeah, he was getting very inactive.
And there was not the super middleweight landscape wasn't really the best landscape at Top Rank. It mostly had like fighters from the zone on super middleweight, the top fighters. And at that time, Bob Arum didn't like working with other promoters. You know how Bob Arum is. He's a selfish old man that really he can be cheap a lot of times.
Well, let's segue right into that, because Zurdo Ramirez making a splash again at light heavyweight. That's going to remain to be seen. But there's some potential great matchups with Beterbiev, Bivol. He's a big, tall guy, strong guy. Canelo doesn't want to fight Mexicans, so we'll leave Zurdo Ramirez's story to another day. But Top Rank, man, the biggest story of the week from last week is the fact that they lost the purse bid for Teofimo Lopez's next fight. They didn't even try. They really didn't even try. I mean, did you see what it came out to? Over $7 million by that social media company Thriller that put on the Tyson fight.
Mike Tyson is in that company too. And the crazy thing is, they outbid them to like more than Top Rank and Matchroom combined together.
Right.
That's how crazy it was.
They're serious. And a lot of it, like, I have an industry insider that knows so much, and I want to get my boy Jay Chaudhry in on this when he has time to come in and talk to us about this, because he knows all the whole deal. A lot of these guys that work at Thriller now are former HBO boxing executives. You know, HBO folded. A lot of those guys went over to Thriller who knew how to run a successful pay-per-view model and whatnot, and they're like thinking outside the box. And it really doesn't appear that Top Rank, that Bob wanted to win this purse bid. He wasn't aggressive about it at all, which leads me to ask, if he doesn't care about Terrence Crawford and thinks Terrence Crawford is too expensive, all of a sudden now he doesn't care about Teofimo. What's going on over there?
Oh no, Teofimo spoke up about this too. And like, it's crazy because Bob said this fight's not even worth 1.6 million. And like, really? The dude he's fighting is
Kambosos.
Kambosos is a quality opponent. I saw him fight on his own card. He's a quality opponent. And you're saying this is not a quality fight? I think this could be a good fight. But like, that's what I'm talking about. When you try, this is supposed to be your next cash cow and now you can't eat. And now because of this, it started the Tyson Fury Anthony Joshua talks now.
Yeah, is this a
Because
little
Eddie
bit of
Hearn,
bitterness? You think there's a little bit of bitterness that he regrets not making pay-per-view Lomachenko versus Lopez was not a pay-per-view, and this is a little bit of why he's bitter and not wanting to invest in Teofimo? Some people say he never thought Lopez was going to win that fight.
He never thought he would, but I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, there's a lot of opinions when it comes to that fight. Some people say it was a draw. I thought it was a draw. I thought people thought it was a close victory for Teo. Some people say it was a wide margin, but tell you the truth, in my opinion, it was a close draw. I would be good with a close Teofimo victory, but the problem is that, yeah, it should have been on pay-per-view, first of all. Second of all, Bob never really wants to invest fully into his top fighters. It was always a problem with Bob Elm. That's why a lot of these fighters left his stable. That's why Oscar left. That's why Floyd left.
Mikey
Garcia left. That's why Gabriel Moraes left. That's why a lot of these fighters left. That's why Terence Crawford should leave. That's why Teofimo, there's a chance he might be on his way out, because if this goes well and that third pay-per-view goes well, Phil might ask to buy the rights to Teofimo's contract.
Oh, most definitely. And look, Teofimo Lopez, it's amazing the potential fights he has lined up, because now that he knows this whole different entity, Thriller, is willing to invest and pay him accordingly, right? What are they going to pay? What are they going to pay when he decides, let's make the Ryan Garcia fight happen? When the money really starts talking and they say, let's see Ryan Garcia versus Teofimo.
There's only one problem I have with Teofimo.
What's that?
And I think, and I'm going to be honest, I think he needs to give Lomachenko a rematch, because it's showing right now. And like, if you watch that fight, and if everybody, let's go back and watch that fight. Lomachenko kind of exposed Teofimo as far as a little bit, what he's bad at doing a little bit, what he has to work on. And if Lomachenko would have started early, we won't be talking about Teofimo the way we're talking about him.
But he didn't. We know that he didn't.
Problem.
We know he didn't, but he wasn't able to get rid of him like he did other quality opponents. Like, he got rid of Comey, he got rid of Nakatani. That's
why I said you need to be a man. I know it's about business. You'll make more money of a Lama rematch, but it's about the principle of being a man too. And like, hey, people are thinking you don't want to give this guy a rematch because you know you can't beat them. You're not going to be able to beat the man again.
Oh man.
And
I don't know if I can ride with you on the T.
I don't think he beats the man again. I think Lama's gonna, because you have realized like this.
I need to see Loma fight again, Drew. It's the shoulder surgery. I would love to see him fight. Fight Haney, fight anybody decent. Let's see how he
wants to fight Haney.
I'm glad.
Let's get into this topic. Let's get into this one topic real quick.
Yeah, let's do
Devin Haney put a tweet out, and remember that tweet that we saw earlier. And then trying to come at Lomachenko. Lomachenko came back at him and said, that wasn't my choice. That championship belt got delivered to you by mail. I want to fight you. And the thing is, someone has put out an article that showed Devin Haney wasn't even the mandatory for Lomachenko.
We're going back onto this WBC drama.
And for some reason, he got the belt.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, when you're calling out all these guys, make sure they don't want to fight you before you know they're not trying, that they didn't fight, say they wouldn't fight you before calling them out. Because every guy except for Ryan Garcia, because we know he thinks he's not worth it, which Ryan Garcia shouldn't be like that, because tell you the truth, you beat Luke Campbell. Tell you the truth, he has no killer instinct. He knocks you down. He exposed you a little bit.
Man, that 135 division is stacked. Stacked.
If you calling out all these guys, make sure that they said right away that they didn't tell you already they wanted to fight you. All those guys want to fight Devin Haney. Now the thing that he needs to do now, since all these guys been saying they want to fight Devin Haney, make a call to Eddie Hearn, if that's your promoter. Pick a guy and fight and make the fight already. And stop trying to get on Twitter and start calling people out. You're already getting caught in email champion already. Why don't you stop using Twitter and just make a goddamn fight already? I'm tired of it. You're calling people out. People are saying they want to fight you, and you just keep calling people out already. Make your goddamn mind up. Are you gonna fight somebody, or are you gonna try to hype yourself up more and not even take a fight?
Yeah, all right, man. We're talking about 135-pound division, Devin Haney, all the email champion drama and light opposition. Drew, I was on the phone earlier today with Phil LaGreco, a fighter who most people know he's Italian, but from Canada. He famously took a fight against Errol Spence on 2 weeks' notice. Then he famously had a fight with Amir Khan, which didn't go so well. In that fight, he was trained by Fernando Vargas from Las Vegas. Great Mexican-American legendary fighter who fought Oscar. Of course, he also trained our boy Francisco Esparza. Now, why do I bring up Phil LaGreco? Because he's now a manager, and he's got this Canadian prospect. His name is Prince Badi. Prince Badi, 135-pound, undefeated, 10-0, 10 knockouts. He's a knockout machine, and he's struggling to get him a quality fight, man. There's a lot of things going around with the coronavirus, too, and like getting people to come into, and whatnot. I don't know if that played into it, but man, he's having a tough time getting him a quality opposition. This guy is ready to fight any of them.
Where's he at? PBC?
No, he's not contracted yet with like PBC. It's his fighter out of Canada. He's 10-0, 10 knockouts, 135 pounds. He's ready to fight anybody.
He doesn't have a promotion or contract.
I think he does, but with a smaller promotional company. Phil fought on PBC, was fighting on PBC, and I mean Phil was kind of fighter that would take any fight against, including Errol Spence on 2 weeks' notice. So his fighter Prince Badi, 135-pound prospect. Hope to have him on the show. It didn't work out today. I told you we were going to try to get him on tonight, but yeah, man, he's looking to fight any of these guys in the top 10. He's ready to fight right now, man. So I'm looking forward to talking to him on the phone.
I really think that if he's 10-0 and he's shown, like, if they're trying to get him a fight, they got to get him a fight. Something's not going right over if it's on the part of the promoters.
Well, sometimes
trying to get him a fighter.
Sometimes the people that like he finds himself in a predicament like Edgar Berlanga over at Top Rank, who's like 15-0, 16-0, and they're all knockouts. It's hard to get anybody who's going to be a real test to you, because people see your tape and they're like, I don't know, I don't want to get in with risk getting in with a power puncher like that,
I really think, what the problem when it comes to those knockout artists, I think the only path for them is to get a mandatory shot.
Right. Just keep knocking out everyone that comes in your way. And
just keep knocking people out if you have to. At the same time, you're 10-0, get some rounds in and everything. That should be the main focus, is him to get some rounds in and try to go late.
Yeah, he finds himself in the same shoes as Edgar Berlanga, who we've only seen fight 1 or 2 rounds at most, right?
Yeah, so that's the main focus. Get him rounds. And then after that, concentrate on trying to get fight rank fighters in a certain sanctioning body, and then try to win a mandatory shot, because that's the only path that those knockout artists usually have, unless somebody gets generous and offers a knockout artist a shot at his belt, and they claim, hey, I can beat this guy, and he can't knock me out. But that's really rare that it happens. So only path he can take is to get a mandatory shot at somebody. And likely, he says he's 135. He's likely gonna fight Haney or going for Haney or Teofimo.
He's calling out Haney. We've been talking about Haney. I know this kid has been calling out Haney bad, but it's hard to get Haney's attention, because Haney's doing real well for himself financially over at Eddie Hearn, and who knows? I mean, it looks like Eddie Hearn's protecting him as much as possible.
Yeah, I really think Eddie Hearn has to put him in a fight soon. This is getting ridiculous for him trying to call people out that already said they're gonna fight him. And like, and don't get me wrong, I don't think he beats Lomachenko. I think Lomachenko times him eventually. It times him and counters him. I think he beats Ryan Garcia because I think Devin Haney can time and counter Ryan Garcia all night. I think he beats Tank Davis. I think him and Teofimo is a 50-50 fight.
Mm-hmm.
And Comey, I think he beats Richard Comey. And I think that if you look at Fortuna, Fortuna can give him some problems, but at the end, I might pick Haney over Fortuna. But really, at the end of the day, I think the main match problems for him will be Lomachenko and maybe Teofimo. I even give him Nakatani could give him some problems too, and Linares.
Nakatani and Linares are live dogs, man. They can make anybody's night a difficult night. 135 pounds is it's a great division. It's a great time to be a lightweight.
It's a great division, but like this inactivity and him being on Twitter and everything, calling people out and everything, like people are calling you still an internet email champion. So he hasn't really have that respect yet of being a true top fighter because he couldn't even knock out Gamboa, and Gamboa got some good shots in on him when they fought. So I'm really not completely sold on Devin Haney, but I know he should be able to beat these fighters the fighters I said he could beat. So,
right. All right.
Yeah.
Well, Drew, you know what? I'm looking at the schedule this weekend, and so there's some interesting things. All right, Thursday night is usually the round table. Tomorrow night, if you're listening to the show and you catch this, don't miss Hispanics Causing Panic on D Styles' YouTube channel because we are going to talk to that prospect, Jesus Ramos Jr., tomorrow. That is going to be an exciting. They just had Gabe Flores, so that show's doing really well, and I hope that's going to rub off on our show because I really want to start bringing great guests to this. And also, if you guys are just tuning into for the first time and you like our show, hey, go ahead and subscribe to us because we got some big things planned for the channel. We're going to be on the Leave It on the Ring on Pandora. Our podcast is available there. I see my boy Drew. And so let's just look at this schedule real quick. Thursday night is the night usually we do the roundtable. But man, Fernando Vargas, who we just talked about, his son is making his second pro fight. And they went to Puerto Rico. It's going to be in Puerto Rico for the next month. And it's going to be featuring the main events featuring a guy named Brandon Adams, who I really like. And I think his career could catapult into something against Sergey Bohachuk is the main event on NBC. Ring City USA is a new promotional company. I'm feeling it, dude. And they got Fernando Vargas, his son, making his second pro fight in Puerto Rico. It's real important. That's going to be on Twitch. So you can go to Ring City USA. They're going to be streaming that fight on Twitch, probably it's 9 o'clock Eastern time, 6 o'clock. It's going to be a little bit earlier in the day if you want to catch that. I'm definitely going to be watching that fight. Friday, Clarissa Shields, Drew, she's not on any major promotional company. It's a pay-per-view against Marie-Eve DeCaras, if I'm pronouncing her name right. But yeah, man, your thoughts on Clarissa Shields' pay-per-view, not on a major boxing promotional channel?
I doubt it'd do any numbers.
You know, she was considering, this is for the WBO, WBC, WBA junior middleweight title. She was considering a full-time career change into MMA. I don't know what's going on with that, but it's hard to make money as a female professional boxer, to make the money she really deserves, someone who's a unified champ.
Yeah.
So I'm not hating on that. But also, last fight of the week, Tony Yoka versus Joel Dieko. People were kind of high on Tony Yoka. This is for a vacant European heavyweight title. My boy Drew. Yo, what up, D-Style? Yeah, we just wrapping up the show. We're talking about Thursday night, right before the roundtable. it looks like Fernando Vargas Jr., the oldest son of Fernando Vargas, will be fighting on Twitch. His fight will be televised for Ring City, USA, but on the Twitch portion, on the undercard. And you can go check out their Instagram, Fernando Vargas' Instagram. It's always a riot. They're in Puerto Rico. We got Clarissa Shields fighting Friday night. And this Tony Yoka, Joel Dieko, heavyweight title fight is going to be really early in the morning, 11:40 a.m. PST, Pacific Standard Time. There's no fights this Saturday, so it's going to be a little bit slow for boxing fans on Saturday. You can take your wife out on date night. Oh, yeah, man. Ferros is just a great character, and he was always left everything in the ring. And now to see his children carrying on his legacy, it looks like the entire 3 sons are going to eventually be pro because the baby is only 16, but the other 2 are definitely, Amato's already gone pro, and of course Junior, his oldest, is on his second pro fight. So I'm definitely looking forward to them and hopefully having them on the Leave It on the Ring network, any of his kids, and Fernando, of course. It'd be a pleasure to speak with Fernando. We're just recapping that, Drew. So anyways, that is it for the Shoeshine this Monday night. Man, Drew, your final thoughts? I know we started the show talking about Canelo.
Well, I don't care what anybody says about me being a Canelo hater, first of all. For that, if tell you the truth, I laugh at people call me a Canelo hater because mostly all the shit I say is facts when it comes to Canelo. And people don't like what I say sometimes when it comes to Canelo. But at the end of the day, I don't care. You could kiss my ass at the end of the day.
Is it completely black and white? I mean, there's a spectrum, right? There's a spectrum as a boxing fan. If you don't glorify him and praise him, you're a hater. Or if you just are giving criticism, it's like it can't be in the middle somewhere, or you can't be I love to be objective, man. Like, I didn't start off being so appreciative of Canelo, but now I am. Things have changed a little bit.
I just really question a lot of the shit that involves him, because tell you the truth, at the end of the day, people think he's this unstoppable fighter, and he got 3 gifted decisions at least. And people are saying, oh, no one's going to beat Canelo. But guys, somebody's going to beat Canelo. And it could be this guy, Billy Joe Sanders.
Oh, let me say, shout out to D-Style, because he is we're wrapping the show up. But D-Style took the pie like a man. He made that wager. And Drew, you teased on Saturday night on Raw Boxing that you're willing to do something extreme, an extreme bet. You got like 8 weeks to figure this out, because it's going to be May 8th.
Well, me and Raw Boxing just said we're going to do bragging rights. That's all we're going to do.
Bragging rights?
I'm already putting a $50 bet down on Billy Joe Sanders at a casino.
Man, we might have to if we're going to get this channel some notoriety, we may have to step it up there in that one, because that's a big fight. If you're that secure on BJ Saunders, we may have to step it, but you got time to think about it. We got time to think about it.
At the end of the day, Canelo is going to lose within the next 5 fights. And when it comes to me, I don't make predictions. I say spoilers. And he's going to lose within the next 5 fights.
Bragging rights, LOL. D-Style says bragging rights, LOL. That's not good enough, Drew. It isn't. But you're going to have plenty of time to think about what it is we're going to come up with at some point. Because you're
So, D-Style, what flavor was that pie you took in the face?
I think it was chocolate. It looked good, man. It looked like one of the good Walmart pie ones, man. But that took balls.
Yeah, like, you remember the movie Mrs. Doubtfire when he had that little face thing? He looked exactly like that when he comes up. I was like, hello!
The next 5 fights. All right, well, I'm going to just leave it at this. Love him or hate him. You asked me earlier in the show if there's going to be if he would face any real ramifications if he took a loss, and I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no, because whatever the fight, if it did not happen to Manny Pacquiao when he fought Timothy Bradley. When he lost to Timothy Bradley, nothing happened to his career. It's still here.
Well, here's the problem with that. Here's the problem. Here's the difference.
Because the music is out. We're supposed to be done with the show. Yes, please tell me. Here we go. Last time.
If if that loss, he was robbed. He dominated that fight.
He was robbed in that Timothy
everywhere.
Bradley fight. But
if
who's to say that's not going to happen somewhere down the line to anybody, including Canelo? I mean, he could be robbed.
You want to know who Canelo loses to, Joe? He's out losing to Billy Joe Sanders or Caleb Plant.
Caleb Plant.
You guys can underestimate Caleb Plant, but Caleb Plant has a style that can give Canelo problems also. And tell you the truth, these guys do not put their chins out there to be exposed, to put at risk. That's the thing about these fighters.
D-Style is commenting, where is the love that you look awfully related to Canelo yourself? Where is the love?
I love Mexicans, but he's no Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.
Oh,
no,
man,
I mean,
yeah.
Senior. We're not talking about Junior. We ban people for talking about
We're not
Junior
near September yet, Mexican Independence Day, but if he does fight Caleb Plant, you got another person willing to take a bet with you, Joe Lopez, 40 ounce. Will take a bet for September.
I'm going to casinos and making bets.
Man, I think we're probably going to have to get in on that betting action for this show. Something a little bit more than bragging rights. I definitely think that. We're going to have to hop something. I'll take a dog shot collar to the neck if I have to, but I'm not that wound up about any of these fights to do so. But I will just say this, for the Shoeshine, Drew Evo did get it right. G-Funky and him got the Valdez fight right. That was a great call. Plant looks like dude Britney Spears' backup dancer.
Tell D-Styles, don't tell D-Styles. I said Jorgen didn't last within 5 rounds. Tell me, Valdez, I said he was going to get knocked. He's going to get the knockout in 10. Tell him with Povetkin, I predicted a 5th round knockout.
I love it. This is what keeps the shows interesting. Whether we get these picks right or wrong, it keeps it interesting. And I just want to remind everybody to check out D-Styles' show tomorrow because it's going to be a great episode of Hispanics Causing Panic. I'll be on there tomorrow night. Drew, always a pleasure. Make sure you subscribe, share. If you like this show, just let us know what's up. You can also hit us up at our social media and send us criticism, comments, or some shout outs. Love at the Mike and Dave 1 and at Drew Evo. This has been the Shoeshine. I'm Dave from the 408. Drew, I'll see you next week, homie. Peace.